Second. Hello, everyone, and welcome to November 8th, 2021, regular Town Council meeting. I'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. First up, the adoption of the agenda. So I take a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Rudick. Is there any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Next up is the adoption of the minutes of the organizational meeting, our last meeting last Monday. Councillor Barry, thank you very much. Any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And next is the adoption of the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillor Warwa, thank you very much. Any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay. First up is unfinished business under correspondence.
Okay, this is a letter from the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 39, Vegreville, addressed to Dear Mayor McPhee. Invitation to the Royal Canadian Legion Branch number 39 Remembrance Day Ceremony. I would like to formally invite you to attend our 2021 Remembrance Day Ceremony. This year, due to COVID, we are having to hold our ceremony outside at the cenotaph with minimal attendance and following health guidelines according to Command and Alberta Health Services. We would ask you to keep your remarks brief due to possible weather conditions. If you cannot attend and wish to send greetings, we would be pleased to read them for you. We will be live streaming the ceremony on our Facebook page. If you are able to attend to lay a wreath on behalf of your group, please advise us. We will be having a small luncheon at the branch afterwards, and you are invited to join us for a plated lunch and comradeship. Please be sure to wear a mask. Yours very truly, Holly Mears, Chairman, Poppy Campaign.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion to receive and file on that. Councillor. Bullock. Can't believe I just forgot your last name, man. I've tried not to call you by your first name, but sorry about that. Okay, any discussion on the motion? So I will be attending, and they're trying to keep the numbers down. So, and there's just a small little thing at the Legion afterwards. So, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. What are we going to do with these two letters regarding cats and new bylaws? We're going to read them both. Okay, you're up next.
Thank you, Worship. These are two letters dated October 4th, 2021, addressed both to yourself and Town Council. The first one, resident cats running at large. We have been residents of the town of Vegreville since 1981 and have enjoyed living in this small community within a very pleasant cul-de-sac. We have seen many neighbors come and go as they have retired, transferred, or passed away. For over 10 years, we enjoyed our own pet dog, a Samoyed, and look after his needs, and took great pleasure to ensure that we cleaned up after him on our daily walks. We appreciated the town providing poop bags along the walking trails. We believe that dogs and cats provide great therapeutic value to their owners, but all pet owners of dogs and cats and etc. should maintain the responsibility of cleaning up after their pets and keeping them on a leash when not in the free-run areas of the town. For several years now, we are experiencing a great problem with the many cats that pet owners in our neighborhood let run at large. These cats have defecated continuously in our flower bed and garden. The flower bed attached to the front of our house cannot be used for planting live flowers, as the cats continue to use this planter for their needs. We have had to use boards and use artificial flowers here. Metal screens, chicken wire, and other deterrents are used to keep them from continually blanking in other flower beds and the garden, all at our great expense. We are so tired of picking up after someone else's pet. A camera was placed and pictures received of these culprits, the cats. The town should have bylaws to deal with this problem. The bylaws have been on the town council agenda many times since September 2020, but we have seen no final outcome of any bylaws or any enforcement. Any amended or proposed bylaws should be expanded not only to include dogs, but cats. These bylaws with enforcement would start making owners responsible. Other small communities have bylaws in effect. Vermilion has bylaw 17-2015. St. Paul has cat-dog bylaw all the way back to January 2014. We are looking forward to hearing from you and Town Council. Sincerely yours, Anton Powley. And he has some attached photos of the culprits. And the second letter, again, October 4th, to His Worship and Town Council. I have been a resident of Vegreville for 41 years and do my best to contribute to our community. Unfortunately, there is a problem that has progressively worsened over the past few years. This problem is centered around the large number of stray cats and pet owners' cats that continually use our yard and our neighbor's yard to urinate and defecate. Pet owners in our area let their cats roam free without regard for neighbors that have to contend with their cat's filthy mess. We have tried to talk to the irresponsible pet owners, but there has been absolutely no response to rectify the problem. In addition, we have spent a considerable amount of money, over $250, replacing plants that were dug up, replacing urine, smelled dirt, buying pet repellents like Critter Ritter, mothballs, and now we resorted to using chicken wire to cover all our flower beds in an attempt to repel these cats. This latest attempt does not prevent cats from doing their business because they still manage to find a spot big enough for them to defecate and urinate. Not only is cleaning up cat feces very unpleasant, it is not very hygienic. In short, we are absolutely fed up dealing with cat feces in our yard. I believe a cat bylaw is necessary to encourage all these irresponsible cat owners to start assuming the responsibility for their pets. The licensing fees would help in the enforcement of this bylaw. I have attached copies of 4 cat bylaws, including City of Red Deer, City of Calgary, Town of St. Paul, and Town of Vermilion for your information. In addition, I have photos of our unsightly chicken wire covered flower beds, minus the flowers thanks to the cats. Plus, cats using our yard as their bathroom in spite of the chicken wire. In addition, there's children's playground at the end of our crescent, and I worry about kids coming in contact with buried cat feces. I look forward to hearing from you and Town Council. Yours truly is Roy Mills, Vegreville resident.
Okay, take a motion. Council Rudick makes a motion to receive and file. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Well, I think based on the discussion that we had the other day, that perhaps we need to refer this to admin for a little bit more discovery and see how we can proceed. This is a difficult topic, and we certainly understand the concern of these individuals, and I know them well. But I think we probably need to have a little bit more time to digest the information that they've shared and find some more. So if we can refer back to administration.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. And I'll just let Mr. Powley and Mr. Mills know that we will be taking a look at this issue probably closer to the end of the year. And I know that they've given 4 examples of communities and municipalities that have cat bylaws. And it's a very hard bylaw to enforce. But when the neighbor can't do the right thing and take care of their cats and look after them, I feel that we should be doing something here. So we'll come up with a plan that'll work for our community. So just hold tight and we'll get it done. Thank you. Next up, bylaw 07-2021.
Thank you, Your Worship. This bylaw is 07-2021 of the Town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta for the purpose of amending land use bylaw number 11-2019 pursuant to the authority of the Municipal Government Act. Whereas the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, and amendments thereto authorize the Council to pass bylaws for municipal purposes. Whereas the Council of the Town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta deem it advisable to amend land use bylaw number 11-2019 by rezoning the described land as shown in Schedule A of this bylaw attached. Now therefore the Council of the Town of Vegreville duly assembled and acts as follows. Number one, that bylaw number 11, 2019, Schedule A, Land Use District Map be amended by changing the designated lands. 1.1, Lot E, Block 2, Plan 1924 KS from I, or Institutional District, to R4, which is High Density Residential District. And number two, this bylaw shall come into force and effect upon the date of passing of third reading. And you can scroll up to see the attachment, Schedule A.
Okay, we'll take a motion for the first reading on this bylaw. Councilor Bullock makes a motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And that's all we're doing tonight is the first reading, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Director Casey, I'm sure.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is respect to bylaw number 082021. This bylaw number 082021 of the town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta for the purposes of establishing a small business subclass. Whereas pursuant to section 297 2.1 of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, council may pass a bylaw setting the assessment subclasses for non-residential property. And whereas pursuant to Section 2 of Alberta Regulation 202/2017, the matters relating to assessment subclasses regulation, council may pass a bylaw to establish a small business property subclass. Now therefore, the Municipal Council of the Town of Vegreville in the Province of Alberta duly assembled enacts the following. 1. Short title. This bylaw shall be titled the Small Business Subclass Bylaw. 2. Purpose. The purpose of this bylaw is to authorize the assessment subclasses for non-residential property. 3. Definitions. 3.1. Act means the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26. 3.2. Assessed property means assessed property as defined in Section 284 of the Act. 3.3. Regulation means Alberta Regulation 202/2017, matters relating to assessment subclasses regulation. 3.4. Non-residential assessment class property means non-residential property as defined in Section 297B of the Act. 3.5, small business subclass means property other than designated industrial property that is owned or leased by a business that has fewer than 50 full-time employees across Canada. Number 4, small business subclass. For the purposes of 2022 and all future assessment rules, all non-residential assessment property within the town of Vegreville is hereby divided into the following subclasses. A, vacant non-residential property, B, small business property, and C, other non-residential property. Number 5, eligibility. 5.1, each small business property owner will be required under this bylaw to comply with all policies regarding the administration of this bylaw, including but not limited to the annual submission of a small business declaration form. Number 6, effective date. 6.1, this bylaw shall come into force and effect on the date of the final passing thereof.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. I'll take a motion for the first reading. Councilor Lemko. Paul, can you give us just a quick note or a quick explanation of what the responsibility will be of the small businesses to qualify for this after this is passed?
There is a policy coming up later in the meeting that will detail that.
Oh, okay, that's right, sorry. Okay, is there any other comments on this for the first reading? Okay, go ahead, Councilor Werleman.
Actually, just a question. I'm just wondering, with this bylaw, once it's passed, is this one of the ones that has to be passed again annually, or this would stand?
No, this would stand.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you no other hands. All those in favor? Carried. Take a motion for the second reading. Councilor Werle. All those in favor? Carried. Take a motion for unanimous consent for the third and final reading. Councilor Barry, look at that. Hey. All those in favor? And a motion for the third and final reading. Councilor Riddick makes a motion. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Cliff, are you doing the okay, go ahead.
This bylaw is 09/2021 of the town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta to establish an intermunicipal committee. Whereas Section 145 of the Municipal Government Act Revised Statutes of Alberta 2000, Chapter M26, provides that a council may establish by bylaw committees of council and to define their functions. And whereas council wishes to establish an intermunicipal committee to enhance the working relationship between the County of Minburn number 27 and the town of Vegreville. Now therefore, the council of the town of Vegreville duly assembled enacts as follows. 1, the short title, this bylaw may be cited as the intermunicipal committee bylaw. Definitions, Section 2, definitions, 2.1. Council means the duly elected council of the town of Vegreville. 2.2, county means the county of Minburn, number 27. 2.3, town is the municipal corporation of the town of Vegreville. Number 3, purpose. 3.1, the purpose of this committee is to establish meaningful and ongoing intermunicipal communication with the county to A, establish effective collaboration between the town and county, B, ensure routine monitoring of intermunicipal relationships and agreements, C, provide a forum to deal with intermunicipal concerns and regional opportunities in a mutually beneficial and timely fashion, and D, provide advice and recommendations to council regarding intermunicipal issues. 4, composition of committee. 4.1, members of council. A, mayor. B, town councillor. C, town councillor. D, alternate town councillor. 4.2, administration. A, town manager or designate. 5, quorum. 5.1, quorum shall be 2 members of council with the town manager or designate. 6, meetings. 6.1, meetings will be held as required at the call of the mayor. 7, repeal. 7.1, bylaw 18-2018 is hereby repealed. 8, effective date. 8.1, this bylaw shall come into effect upon the date of the passing of third reading.
Okay, thank you very much. Take a motion for the first reading. Councilor Barry. So does anybody have any questions regarding this new committee? It's an all-encasing committee that is going to be dealing with all the contracts and negotiations and conversations with the county. So right now, as it stands, it'll be Councilor Wara, Councilor Curtis, myself, and Councilor Lemko as the alternate. Sandra?
So we have to pass, there'll be a request for council decision, next council meeting to appoint the alternate.
Yeah, so I just got ahead of us a bit. Just trying to save you some time. Okay, so all those in favor of the first reading? Carried. Make a motion for the second reading. Councilor Curtis makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. I'll need a motion for unanimous consent. Councilor Bullock, like that. All those in favor? And motion for third and final reading. Councilor Rudick. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. The next is Cliff, you got this one too. Yep. Good.
This bylaw 10-2021 of the town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta for the purpose of repealing bylaw 06-2019 established to create a solid waste committee. Whereas the Municipal Government Act, Revised Statutes of Alberta 2000, Chapter M26 and amendments thereto provides for council to pass and repeal bylaws in relation to the establishment and function of council committees and other bodies. And whereas it is deemed advisable for the council of the town of Vegreville to repeal certain bylaws creating boards and committees that are either superseded by newer bylaws or the board or committee no longer exists or is required. Now therefore, the council of the town of Vegreville enacts as follows. 1, short title 1.1. This bylaw may be cited as the repeal of solid waste committee bylaw. Number 2, bylaw to be repealed. 2.1, bylaw 06-2019, solid waste committee bylaw is hereby repealed. Number 3, effective date. 3.1, This bylaw shall come into effect upon third and final reading.
Okay, thank you. Need a motion for the first reading? Councilor Worrell makes the motion. Any questions, discussion? Okay, go ahead.
I just thought I'd bring forward, this has come up once before to repeal this bylaw in committee, and the last time I had sort of spoken against it. What we were able to see, though, unfortunately, is since that time and us waiting, is that we didn't end up meeting on the committee. But it's just important to note that it doesn't change any of our commitment or how we feel about the work that's been done towards the solid waste improvement within the community. And it also doesn't change any of the ability for the members who brought forward great ideas and advocacy to still reach out. And we would encourage them, I believe, to reach to council and share those ideas. And they can still be brought forward in the same manner. So I just think it's important to know that this is a cleanup of just going through some of our committees, but it doesn't actually change our support for solid waste.
Okay, Councilor Riddick.
Thank you. I would echo some of the same comments that Councillor Warwa brought forward. And I just want to specifically thank the members of that committee. There were a number of community members that have not participated in any of our other boards in the past, a very diverse group with a lot of experience and a lot of passion. So I would like to thank them as the former chair and make sure that we do that formally as council to reach out to those committee members and just appreciate their contribution and continue to encourage that responsible management of solid waste in our community. So thank you again to all of those members.
Okay, and I'll echo both of your comments that we will continue to be making good decisions when it comes to the solid waste and how we deal with it and recycling everything in our community. It's just that the board was something that really wasn't being used, and not having an active partner in conversation really didn't do a lot for us, so. Okay, so we have a motion for the first reading. All those in favor? Carried. Need a motion for the second reading. Councilor Curtis makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Need a motion for unanimous consent. Councilor Lemko, thank you very much. All those in favor? Carried. Add a motion for the third and final reading. Councilor Bullock, all those in favor? Carried. There we go. Thank you, Cliff. Paul, I guess you're gonna have the next few here.
Thank you, Your Worship. Excuse me, this is a request for council decision regarding the policy FIN 6008 small business subclass, and the proposal is to approve policy FIN 6008 small business subclass. The background is that policy FIN 6008 establishes formal guidelines and processes for a small business property subclass in accordance with bylaw 082021 small business subclass bylaw. Financial implications policy FIN 6008 in conjunction with bylaw number 082021 will provide tax relief to qualified small businesses. The tax rate set for the property referred to as a small business must not be less than 75% of the tax rate established for other non-residential property and must not be greater than the tax rate established for other non-residential property. Communication policy is a policy FIN 6008 small business subclass will be posted on our website and circulated to business owners. And the recommendation is that council approve the small business subclass policy as proposed. And the key items in the policy, because I don't want to read all 9 pages, there's some definitions. The one definition that is key is the definition of a full-time employee. 1.5 means an employee that works a minimum of 35 hours a week on a regular basis. Number 2 is small business property. So the non-residential subclass small business property shall be a property in the town of Vegreville other than a designated industrial property that is owned or leased by a business operating under a valid business license and has fewer than 50 full-time employees across Canada as of December 31st of the year preceding the tax year. And a property is not a small business if the property is leased by a business. If the property leased by a business has subleased the property to someone else, or the property is vacant non-residential property, or the property is not used to generate active business income. And active business, sorry, I forgot that definition. Active business income means income earned in a business other than investing income, rental income, or leasing income. So on an annual basis, to be eligible, the business would have to submit an application or a form, an annual small business declaration, before December 31st of the year before the tax year, and that shall contain the information that's contained on the form, which is the name of the business that owns or leases the non-residential property, the legal description, municipal address, and tax roll of the property, the nature of the business that owns or leases the non-residential property, a copy of the business license issued by the town of Vegreville, and a declaration sworn on the basis of personal knowledge stating that the number of full-time employees across Canada employed by the business that owns or leases the non-residential property. And if the residential property is leased by a business, a declaration sworn on the basis of personal knowledge confirming that the business has not leased the non-residential property to somebody else, and any other information that the CAO may require. And if the non-residential property owner does not provide the complete information requested in the prescribed form by the required date, the non-residential property is not considered a small business property for the purposes of the small business property subclass tax rate.
Okay, thank you very much. Take a motion to pass this policy. Councilor Barry. Who wants to go ahead, Councilor Rudy?
So I appreciate that we were able to accommodate this new subclass for taxation. I think it was very effective and a great way to be able to facilitate the ability for a lot of small businesses to be able to pay, particularly given the last couple of years with COVID and the recession. My questions derive from the percentage of our businesses that would be considered small business versus the ones that are not. And then my subsequent question would be, I understand that the application form is meant to demonstrate that those individuals or those businesses that exist in this subclass should have some kind of, we should have some record of what their staff component might be, et cetera. My concern is, I would like to know what the difference is between large business versus small business, and what the impact might be if we expect each of them to submit an application and what that impact would be for admin as well as the small businesses.
Well, a small business is defined as any business that has less than 50 employees across Canada. So it could be a company in town, and let's just take RJV for example. It could be a company in town that has 50 employees or 49 employees this year and 150 employees next year. So the purpose of the annual declaration is so that if they are under 50 employees as of the specified date, which I believe is October 31st or November 30th, then they would qualify for the small business tax rate the following year. If then, when the next year came around, if they were over 50 employees, they would not qualify. So it's difficult, like we have a very large number of small businesses in relation to large businesses. I can't give you the exact number, but based on the work that we had done in the past to try to identify who all the small businesses were, which was quite a task, I can tell you, it was probably about 85% of the businesses in this town are small business.
So as follow-up, then I appreciate that it would be difficult to know for some of those specific examples, but that is the number that I had remembered from before, is that it was about 15% large businesses and 85 small businesses. So I just wonder, in the interest of making sure that we're seamless and providing good support to our business community, that we're not adding an additional step, both for them and for us. I just want to make sure that it's not an additional step that ends up hindering people from being able to access that support, as well as adding additional administration work to our team as well.
Well, it certainly is going to add additional work to our team, and it is going to put some burden on the small business as well to prove that they are a small business. Otherwise, we as town staff or our assessor are going to have to guess whether somebody qualifies as a small business or not. Now, we can change it to be from an annual declaration to a biannual declaration, so it's only every 2 years, or a triannual, sort of like we do for the tax exempt for nonprofits, it's every 3 years. If that would take less of the workload off of everybody, but we, as individuals in here, we know the businesses that exist, but we don't know, is that actually, like, for instance, is the dollar store a franchise or is it a company store? They probably have less than 50 employees in town, but if it's a company store, they have way more than 50 employees across Canada. We have no idea, and we can't make a guess. So we need somebody to tell us.
Okay, Councilor Warwa.
My question is more just in regards to timeline, just looking at this because they would be declaring as of the 30th and then December 31st. Do you feel like it's going to be enough time to get this out for this year? And also, how are we planning on communicating that?
Yeah, I think there's enough time to get this out. It'll be a little bit tight for sure, but we will send letters to every business every business license in town.
Okay, and again, this is something that's needed. I mean, over the last 2 years, we've offered this tax break to this class of business, assuming that they qualified. And that's, we can't operate just by assuming something. So moving forward, as a person that was in business for 33 years in this town, if the town sent me a letter and asked me to fill it out and they were offering me 15 to 20% tax savings, I certainly would fill it out, I'll guarantee you that. And those ones that don't, well, that'll be on them. But, I mean, we have tried as a council over the last couple of years to bring that rate down for that size of a business in our community. And now we have to do a little bit more paperwork because what we were assuming wasn't right. We just can't assume what's going on in everybody's business. So this is the right way to do it. And again, if any businesses decide not to fill it out, then they won't qualify for it. Councillor Barry, you had something you want to say?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it would be safe to say, though, that for the majority of our small businesses in town, they're quite stable, and there wouldn't be a lot of fluctuation from year to year. So for them, basically, they would just be filling out the same form each year.
I would assume that that's probably correct, but the form has to be filled out by every small business. We can't assume that.
No, that's right.
So it's just that it's an additional step that has to be taken, and it's, if you want to take advantage of getting the tax rate, you've got to fill out the form. And if you don't, and the reason that it has to be, we have to have it by December 31st is because our assessor then has to go and adjust all the assessment to make sure that he's got the right small business subclass, and he has to have that filed by February 28th with the province. So there's a short period of time for him to do his work as well.
I think what my point was is once you have an inventory and the small businesses have actually filled out the form once, they will likely find that it's quite easy to repeat it each year after that if they stay stable.
I would say that I just have to change the date on the form that they previously sent, sign it and send it in. So.
Councillor Curtis.
I think this is a great starting block to help out small businesses as well as attract new small businesses to town. So, you know, I'm in favor of this for sure. That's one thing I've heard from business owners, you know, is the tax break would definitely be helpful. So, yeah, well, I think this is a great start, and then we can see, like Paul said, maybe making it biannual, triannual, or some of the businesses that will be stable and stay the same. But we have to start somewhere, and I think this is a good start.
Okay, so anybody that's in business, anybody listening to talk to small business in our community, the onuses will be on you. The last few years, we've worked hard as council and administration to bring the tax rates down for non-residential property that is under 50 employees. So we've been working this hard. You can fill out a form and get it back to us. So I'll call the question. All those in favor of the policy? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul. And you've got one more.
This is a request for council's decision for cancellation of the tax penalty on roll 28600. And the proposal is to cancel the tax penalty of $4,034.78 on tax roll 28600. And the background, recently the Vegreville Galleria Limited Partnership purchased Galleria Shops. Following the sale, the TIPS installment plan that was in place was canceled, releasing the previous owner. As a result of Alberta land title wait times, the new owner was unable to re-register for a new TIPS plan immediately, though their accounting staff had inquired with the town of Vegreville in August about setting up a new plan. The new owner immediately commenced making monthly TIPS payments online and kept the town of Vegreville aware by email that payments were being made and would continue to be made online until such time as the new setup was possible. The town of Vegreville acknowledged the receipt of these emails and did not advise that a late fee would be applied to the account. On October 27th, the new owner learned that a 10% penalty had been assessed due to the TIPS installment plan's cancellation. The intent behind such a penalty is to penalize those who cancel payments with outstanding amounts. In this case, however, the plan was canceled because with the sale of the building, the payer was changing, and the new owner immediately and diligently commenced making monthly payments online that corresponded with the timing requirements of the TIP program. No payments were missed. The financial implication is that the tax penalty of $4,034.78 will be canceled. The owners of the property will be informed in writing of the cancellation of the tax penalty, and the recommendation is the penalty of $4,034.78 be canceled. Since the new owners could not register for the TIPS program due to delays at land titles, but continued to make monthly payments outside the TIPS program.
Okay, I'll take a motion for the recommendation. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any comments, discussion? Councillor Worrell?
I just think that it's important to note that typically we don't, very, very rarely do we look at any cancellation. But in this case, it literally comes down to an inability for basically computer registration. It never changed whether there was a payment happening. So that's the biggest thing. There wasn't a skipped payment. There wasn't a claim of not knowing. The payments literally did happen all the way through. It's just an inability to register based upon land titles.
Exactly. I mean, the timing was not good with the delays at land titles, and we can't put anybody on TIPS until the title is changed. So I do believe that there's no fault of theirs and no fault of ours. It's just the situation, the way it rolled out, so. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next up, Cliff Craig.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is to deal with the Restriction Exemption Program, or REP, for council chambers located at 4945 49 Avenue. So in September 2021, the province of Alberta introduced the REP program and guidelines. The council chambers are considered in scope as a qualified meeting space. Chief Medical Officer of Health, CMOH Order 47-2021 requires a determination to whether the facility is operating as a REP or non-REP guidelines. Council chambers are a separate facility from the town administration office. At the November 2nd, 2021 Legislative Committee meeting, Town Council discussed implementing REP restrictions for council chambers for the health and safety of the governance body and senior leadership. Physical distancing requirements and applicable barriers are in place for council members and senior leadership. The maximum public capacity of the council chambers is 32 occupants. Members of the public in attendance at council chambers are required to wear masks at all times while in council chambers, as physical distancing may not be possible, and provide one of the following: proof of vaccination through a valid QR code, or proof of a privately paid negative PCR test or rapid test within 72 hours, or written documents of a medical exemption. Communication strategy. A press release regarding the town of Vegreville's council chambers becoming a REP facility would be distributed to local media outlets. This release would explain the changes and new requirements for the public to enter the facility and would remind residents that all public meetings are streamed live and saved for viewing at a later time on the Town of Vegreville's YouTube channel. The release would also be posted at vegreville.com and shared on the Town of Vegreville social media channels. Recommendation that Town Council designate council chambers at 4945 49 Avenue as a restriction exemption program facility effective November 9, 2021.
Okay, thank you. Took a motion for the recommendation. Council Lemko makes the motion. Any discussion? Council Werba?
Just wanted to say on this, I think that this is something that we're going to need to do based upon the literal size within this space here, that we could very easily be in a position where we could have a group presenting and we can't even have the whole group, just with the basic layout. So I think that that's just something important to know as one of the reasons why we would be looking at this. The only thing that I want to make sure that we are clear with people, and this is not an issue that has happened within the town, but I've heard it happen in multiple municipalities, is when we say that we need to provide a proof of privately paid negative PCR test or rapid test within the 72 hours, that is by the province's definition of what a rapid test is, because I understand that some communities have had issues where individuals have purchased rapid testing kits. Those are not considered an actual accepted method, so it would be the rapid testing according to the provincial legislation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next up, you want to read the whole letter here, Cliff, or?
I'll read the introduction and the recommendation, if that's all right.
That's good, yep.
Okay. This is a request for council decision to support the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, or FCM, advocacy of RCMP costs and retro pay. So the recommendation is that Town Council support the Federation of Canadian Municipalities with the following resolution. Whereas the recent collective agreement between the RCMP and the National Police Federation includes significant retroactive pay going back to 2017, as well as pay increases going forward. And whereas our municipality and others that depend on RCMP contract policing are facing significant unbudgeted costs that may force us to make difficult choices at a time when our primary focus needs to be on economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas municipalities were not consulted at any stage of the negotiations process, despite the outcome of these negotiations having a direct and significant impact on municipal operations. And whereas RCMP cost increases will disproportionately impact rural communities. And whereas municipalities are eager to work more closely with other orders of government and the RCMP on contract policing issues to ensure the financial sustainability of contract policing and to maintain the service levels necessary for community safety. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Vegreville joins the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in calling on the federal government to absorb all retroactive costs associated with the implementation of the new RCMP labor negotiations regime, and be it further resolved that the federal government should commit to ensuring municipalities are properly consulted prior to implementation of measures that impact local fiscal sustainability and ability to maintain effective levels of police service in communities.
Thank you. I take a motion for the recommendation. Councilor Berry makes the motion. Any discussion? Well, would you like to start, Councilor Riddick?
I'm happy to see that this letter has made it here, and I'm happy that the advocacy of provincial associations as well as municipalities across the country have gotten to this level, that FCM is able to make this call and advocate to all federal parties. We know that the bill is looming over us, and it is due imminently, so this timing is important, and I appreciate that we're able to bring it to this table to ensure that we're not going to receive a bill that we have not budgeted for, that should not be our responsibility. And I appreciate that this council sees the validity in endorsing FCM's position and bringing it forward to all federal parties.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Have we written to our MP and asked for her to advocate on our behalf maybe we should? Go ahead, Cliff.
Part of the communication strategy would be a letter to our Member of Parliament, Shannon Stubbs, AUMA and FCM.
Excellent. Okay, we all know how important this is right now, and having everybody out there lobbying the federal government and letting them know, you know, further be resolved that the government commit to ensuring municipalities are properly consulted. Yeah, really. I mean, to get a bill for $500,000 and just pay it. We will see where this ends up. So, all those in favor of the motion, of the recommendation, carried. Thank you very much. You got one left, Cliff.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is the Christmas 2021 Staff Appreciation. The proposal is to provide chamber bucks to town staff in lieu of the town Christmas party. So annually, the town has sponsored a Christmas party for all town employees. In light of the continued COVID-19 coronavirus and with Alberta health restrictions for a limited number of people for social gatherings, Town Council agreed to cancel the Christmas party. In place of the town Christmas party, the topic of staff appreciation was discussed at the senior leadership group and with Social Club for suggestions. The unanimous result from both groups was the provision of chamber bucks for employees as was approved in 2020. By utilizing chamber bucks, the funds will stay within the community and support local businesses. Financial implications, the Christmas party budget would be reallocated to purchase chamber bucks for town staff. Communication, senior leadership will communicate this message to their respective managers and employees. Recommendation that Town Council approve the reallocation of up to $12,000 designated for the town-sponsored Christmas party for the purchase of chamber bucks for town employees.
All right, thank you. Take a motion for the recommendation. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
I think it's actually very important to continue on doing something so the employees of the town will get to spread some, financial assistance to the rest of the businesses in the community, which is a good thing because otherwise the businesses would be missing out on that and the employees still will get to enjoy something from Christmas from this.
Okay. I know we had a lot of positive feedback from the employees and from businesses last year, and hopefully this COVID next year, this virus situation will go away, that we can get back to normal and be able to celebrate with our employees and thank them proper for another good year. So, but for what we have to deal with right now, I think this is our best option. So, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Cliff. Next up is council reports, and I'm going to start with Councillor Worrell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had on a little bit of a fairly light agenda, but getting back into it, we had on November 2nd, started with directors' presentations to council and a legislative meeting, and we also had a homelessness task force, which was the first meeting that I had been on, run through the FCSS with my role there. I wanted to just highlight a couple things in regards to the homelessness task force that they talked about, and number one was that there needs to be an education component to the community because there is a lot that don't necessarily realize what homelessness is or the different categories that people can be and still be considered within the homelessness. That can include not just the thought of somebody who is physically out of their home, but also people that would be couch surfing or in overcrowding positions. and how quite often in small communities like ours, we think that we don't have this problem, but we might be closer to it than we realize. So within that meeting, there was a number of stakeholders that had come together and talked about a number of different initiatives, including some of access that we've seen to food banks and various other. One of the things I wanted to highlight was we had two ladies, we had Deanne and Linda from the Rural Development Network, and they specifically work within the topic of homelessness, and they're going to assist us because, of course, resources are tight always. They did suggest that there are some funds that they're going to be able to contribute towards getting it up and going within the task force. Also, they will assist in how to fill out some application for some grant money that's out there, because we know that the resources is going to be a huge issue. One of the first steps that we are taking is both on a departmental side, and then from council, I've reached out to our MLA as well, because a number one thing we want to do is make sure that there isn't a duplication of some programs that are in place. So we need to know what the plan is. We know that the timeline is coming close as it's getting colder. It's going to be something we need to deal with much sooner. And right now, one of the major problems that we see is some of our types of programs that the province has that would address vulnerable people, like our Alberta Works program, has a closed office. So when reaching out to the MLA and also members from the task force that are reaching out to departments, one of the main questions they were asking is there a strategy for dealing with homelessness in our region? And if so, what is the strategy? The second was wanting to know, with places like the Alberta Works program not being an open walk-in center at this point, what else is set up? Is there 1-800 numbers? Who would they call and what would they have, which is really important. We need to get that out there. And then the task force is going to be meeting again quickly. So this was just some of the startup. There's a lot of really good information, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't go off in multiple directions, that we first found out what there is available and then would work together with some ideas. So it was just a start, but I think it was very encouraging, and everybody was really wanting to address the problem and get information out. So also on the 4th, I attended our first budget meeting and tonight's council meeting, so it was relatively light for me.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bullock.
Okay, well, for me, all new. October 26th, Vegreville Corn Maze Committee meeting. I attended as a volunteer committee member where we wrapped up our year and had a little bit of a good time and reminisced on what was good and all the positive things that it created for the community. October 27th, council orientation meeting. November 2nd, director presentations to council. November 2nd, legislative committee meeting. November 4th, remainder of the director's presentations. November 4th, the first budget meeting, and tonight's council meeting.
Thank you very much. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Some of the same meetings, on October the 26th, the corn maze wrap up, and I'll leave that to the chair to add a little more detail. On the 27th, council orientation. On the October 31st, the downtown Halloween event, which I thought once again was a tremendous success, and kudos goes out to the chamber and to our town staff that put it all together. On the 2nd, we had the director's presentations to us, followed by the ledge meeting. On November the 3rd, participated in the corn maze check presentations to nonprofits. I think that they were all very pleased to receive their donations from their efforts in working with us as volunteers. And on November the 4th, preliminary budget discussions, and tonight's regular council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Riddick.
Well, since we last met, we had council orientation on the 27th of October, which is a great opportunity for all of us to get together and step forward into our new roles as a council together, so happy to see that. Had a number of FCM meetings, so I'll mention those because those are a little bit different than some of my colleagues. On the 28th of October, we had our monthly executive committee meeting, And they made reference to a number of the changes and some of our board and committee members with Alberta, Newfoundland, and Northwest Territory elections. Some have been successful and some have lost their seats, unfortunately, and yesterday were Quebec elections, so there will be some changes in the composition of the board. And there was also the first Big City Mayor's Caucus meeting with the new chair, Mike Savage, the mayor of Halifax. And at that set of meetings, President Vanderheyden, Carol Saab, our CEO, and Mayor Savage met with the Prime Minister and talked to him about the RCMP costing. So that got a lot of attention and has really driven home the point that we're all concerned, regardless of where you live, if you're using RCMP, that this negotiated costing is a concern. Some mention about some of the positions of the federal ministers that will be of interest to us here in Vegreville. In particular, Goody Hutchins used to be the parliamentary secretary for the Rural Economic Development Ministry, and now she's the minister herself. So she's well aware of small communities and looking forward to having some of those conversations, as well as an appointment to the mental health role will be interesting on a federal level, putting some additional focus on that. On October 29th, I had a meeting with the Rail Association of Canada regarding proximity guidelines, and I believe that they met with Cliff during the summertime talking about, here we are 20 years after, almost 20 years after the first proximity guidelines were put in place, and I know that some of Dale's staff have looked at that survey, trying to get a better capture of safety as well as taking a look at the guidelines in terms of developing that land right next to railways. And all of us in Western Canada, of course, most of our communities were built where the rail lines were, which has presented unique challenges and opportunities as we move forward and people aren't using rail in the same way. We've experienced some of those ourselves, and so some of those granting opportunities that we've had to change some of those rail crossings have been beneficial to us. But in some of the larger centers like Vancouver or Montreal, for example, where they have transformed some of those neighborhoods right adjacent, particularly in COVID times when people were actually working from home, never realized that trains go 24 hours a day, whereas our residents remind us frequently about the 24-hour day train warnings. Anyways, there are some concerns about the livability and the safety concerns, and I appreciate Dale's staff taking a look at that survey, and there will be some more information as we come forward, just making sure that we're continuing to build and work appropriately with a rail bisecting our community. The downtown trick-or-treat on the 31st was a great event. I think 1,000 people, probably more than that, coming through, a lot of whom we didn't recognize. So again, a great opportunity to be able to safely celebrate, and really happy to see a lot of characters in attendance. And I wanted to make special note and thank you to all of our directors' presentations on November 2nd. It's nice to be able to see what's happening in each of the departments and have a real understanding of the scope and the breadth of the work that our staff do in order to get ready for November 4th budget meetings. And I think that's all I'll say for this meeting. And again, I want to say a special thank you to our committee members that have been serving on some of our boards and committees in the past, and look forward to some of the work that we're getting onto our boards, as I've received a number of emails prepping me for my upcoming commitments for my new committees, and looking forward to doing that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounded a bit like Groundhog's Day. Everybody's kind of been at some of the same or all the same things I have, but starting on the 27th, we had our council orientation, and then I was a part of the Chamber Halloween event on the 31st. November 1st, the VTAB, the Tourism Board, I was introduced to that, and my lovely friend next to me, Mr. Lemko, nominated me as vice chair of that board, so I accepted that. So that'll be new and exciting for me to get to know the members of the board and some of the things coming down the pipe as far as tourism promotions and stuff in town. So that's really good. I was part of the FCSS meeting on the 2nd with Councillor Warawa. She did a really good job talking about what we discussed there about the homelessness problem. So we're looking at gathering some more ideas on how to make people aware and some shelter options, because the cold's coming fast. So that needs to be addressed pretty quickly. November 2nd, the Ledge meeting, and November 2nd, the director's presentation, which was very nice for me who had not been on here yet to see a lot of the stuff that goes on in the background. November 4th budget meeting, and then our meeting tonight. So it's been a pretty good first month.
Good, and congratulations on being the vice chair of the VEG Tourism Board. That's a big step.
Feels great.
You can thank Councillor Lemko for nominating you. Councillor Lemko, what have you been up to?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. It's good to nominate a fellow councillor to the board so that possibility of you not being the vice chair is it's really good. No, it's good to see Councillor Curtis there as good to get your feet wet right off the hop. On October 26th, I attended the Corn Maze wrap-up meeting. The meeting was spent to discuss the positives and maybe some negatives around the corn maze, but only to talk about the distribution of funds we received and the sharing of those funds with our nonprofit volunteer groups. And then on November 3rd, we presented checks to those nonprofits for over $16,000. And the committee wanted to extend a sincere thank you to our loyal sponsors who continue to donate funds in order to make the event possible. For without these folks, we couldn't even begin to do this kind of stuff. The Corn Maze drew 5,000 plus people over a 10-day period, and 2 of those days were bad weather days. So the initiative of the Tourism Board to continue to promote tourism, and the Corn Maze was one of the initiatives that took on it, and it's looking like it's working. So expect bigger and better and hopefully taller things for next year. October 27th, council meeting. October 28th, the Go East of Edmonton board meeting. The Go East AGM board meeting via Zoom will be on November 30th. So encourage you to all come on and see what this tourism committee is doing and the initiatives of Go East. I want to highlight one item is the initiative put on by that is the road trip savings passport. It's a new initiative put on where local businesses can sign up, offer a discount to consumers who can come in, hit an app on, it takes about a minute to sign up on your phone, and it'll promote the discount to the consumer, and it also have the business have traffic in their stores. There's no cost to either the consumer or the business participating. That's all through an initiative of Go East and through a grant funding. So, and they will administer the promotion of that. So I encourage small business to offer some sort of discount or some item of discount, but also to the consumer to sign up and walk into the stores. On the 31st of October, I attended the Chamber of Commerce Halloween event. It was so nice to see the amount of ghosts and goblins out there and the business community supporting and candy. You know, that was also nice to see Sparky out there, Maisie, and Lemonhead out there wandering around with the ghosts and goblins and enjoying the beautiful day that was out there. Great initiative put on by the Chamber and the town, and so it was in the business community. A great event. The November 1st, the Tourism Advisory Board meeting, where the new chair is Donna Williams from the library, and the new representative as Councillor Curtis as the vice chair. We also have a new member from Mundare, the Mayor Cheryl Kalanuyu, I believe is how you pronounce that. So the mayor will be sitting on that board. We also need a member from the research development tech field. So if somebody knows of anybody in that group, please get a hold of either or anybody, Anya on the tourism board or any tourism board member, the vice chair, or Donna, the chair. The committee would also like to, at this time, to thank Chair Councillor Warawa for the many good meetings that she got us through, and also to thank the mayor, Mundare's rep, Alan Dubik, who spent a number of years on the committee. Highlights were the, coming up, the Vegreville Christmas Stationary Parade at the Act Society on the 20th of November. I believe there's an art show at the library by the VVA local artists. There was some discussion on the mini golf and the Kinsmen, but due to some Alberta liquor gaming control rules, they will not be able to assist in this endeavor because of some regulations there. So they're looking at other ways to support the community with something. And there was discussion at that meeting on the mural on the Ziegler building, and the initiatives with the artists are being discussed as we move forward. The November 2nd, the town operational meeting update, Ledges meeting, and then the 4th, the budget meeting, and then tonight's photo shoot and council meeting.
Thank
Your
you.
Worship.
Okay, well, I was pretty much at every meeting that I had to be at. Council orientation on the 27th, myself and Councillor Rudick, Deputy Mayor Rudick, did the Talk of the Town taping, and thank you, I thought you sounded very well. The director's presentation, the legislative meeting on the 2nd, the budget meeting on the 4th. I did the veterans lunch at the Legion on the 5th, and it was nice to see a bigger attendance this year than it was last year. And then the meal was awesome. And then Friday night, the 5th, I dropped the puck at the Vegreville Vipers home opener, and it was nice to see a crowd there, and everybody was quite happy. There was a bit of a hiccup with the blow-up head of the big Viper, but I'm sure they'll get her straightened out. It looks like they're going to have a successful program there, and I'm real happy for them. So, and tonight's town council meeting, I did stop by at the Halloween downtown event for a little bit before I had to go to a wedding reception, and I do want to congratulate the tourism and the town and the chamber. It was a well-attended event, and it didn't take away from anything at our home. We were close to 300 kids at home, so I mean the same kids, they just have more bags, I think. So, but that's good. I'm happy that everybody's filling into their roles here, and getting the boards up and running, and look forward, to finishing this budget here in the next. Hopefully, this next 3 weeks we'll get her done, and we can start moving forward with some of the other stuff on our agenda here. So that's all I have for tonight's meeting. Is there any other business of council that would like to be discussed at this time? Seeing no hands, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:07.